Singapore Changi Airport. Addis Information Hotel. Time 0351 Zulu. Wind 000 at 14. Visibility 21. Temperature 31. Dew point 23. QNH 1010. Landing runways 2 left and 2 center. Expect ILS approach. Departing runway 2 center. Advise on initial contact. You have information hotel. Singapore Changi Airport. Addis Information Hotel. Time 0351 Zulu. Wind 000 at 14. Visibility 21. Temperature 31. Dew point 23. QNH 1010. Landing runways 2 left and 2 center. Expect ILS approach. Departing runway 2 center. Advise on initial contact. You have information hotel. Singapore Changi ground. Singapore 516 Heavy, ready for pushback with information hotel, requesting runway 2 center. Singapore 516 Heavy, pushback approved, tail to the north, expect runway 2 center. Singapore 15 Super, pushback approved, tail to the north, expect runway 2 center. Indonesia 137, hold position. Holding position, Indonesia 137. Pushback approved, tail to the north, runway 2 center, Singapore 516 Heavy. Singapore Changi ground, Indonesia 182, request taxi to parking. Indonesia 182, taxi to parking, at your discretion. Singapore Changi ground, All Nippon 010 Heavy, ready for pushback. Thank you, good day, Singapore 423 Super. Taxi to parking, Indonesia 182. All Nippon 010 Heavy, hold position. Holding position, All Nippon 010 Heavy.
On behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us. Before takeoff, we would like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft.
Welcome aboard, and thanks for flying with us. We're committed to making your flight safe and comfortable. So before we depart, we'll be showing a brief safety presentation. This information can help you if there's
Singapore Changi ground, you're on an active airport. Please contact Singapore Changi ground on 124.3.
All carry-on items should now be stored securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. And all
Singapore Changi
aisles,
ground,
exits, and
Indonesia
bulkhead areas
137,
should be
ready
clear.
for taxi to
Your
runway 2
mobile
center with
phones and other
information hotel.
electronic devices should be turned
Indonesia
off.
137,
Once
continue
airborne,
taxi.
we'll let you know when you can use approved
Continue
electronic
taxi,
devices.
Indonesia
But note that
137.
some items, such as phones, may not be used
All
in flight
Nippon
at any
010
time.
Heavy,
You'll
pushback
find a
approved,
list of
tail to the
approved
south,
electronic
expect runway 2
devices in the
center.
in-flight information section of Sky Magazine. If you're seated at an emergency exit, please review the responsibilities for emergency exit seating on the back of the safety
Pushback
information card,
approved,
which
tail
is
to
in
the
your
south,
seat pocket.
runway 2
Located
center,
not
All
emergency
Nippon
exit.
010
If you're
Heavy.
unable or prefer not to perform this
Singapore
function,
Changi ground,
just let
Singapore
us know,
15
and we'd be
Super,
happy to
ready
find
to
you
taxi
another
with
seat.
information hotel.
As we leave the gate,
Singapore
make sure
Changi
seatbelt
ground,
is fastened.
Type 404
To
Super,
fasten,
ready
insert
for
the metal
pushback
strap
with
into the
information
buckle
hotel.
and adjust the strap so it's low and tight across your lap. To release the belt, just lift the top of the buckle or press the latch to release. Please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened anytime the seatbelt sign is on. And even if the sign is off, you should keep your seatbelt fastened in case we experience unexpected rough air. For everyone's safety,
Type
federal
404
regulations
Super,
require
hold
all
position.
passengers to comply with the posted
Holding
placards
position.
and lighted
Type
signs
404
located throughout
Super.
the cabin, as well as any crew member instructions.
I'm so sorry.
Smoking is not
Singapore
allowed
15
on any
Super,
flight,
runway
and
2
federal law
center.
prohibits
Taxi via
tampering with,
contact tower when
disabling,
ready.
or destroying a restroom smoke detector.
Taxiing to runway 2 center
There
via
are 6
Singapore
exits on the
15
plane,
Super.
4 doors, 2 on each side, and 2 window exits over the wings. Each door has a detachable slide that can be used for flotation. Life rafts are located in ceiling
Singapore
compartments at
Changi
the front
ground,
and
Singapore
center of the
24
plane.
Heavy, ready for
All exits
pushback
are
with information
clearly
hotel.
marked with an exit sign. However, if there is a loss of power and cabin visibility is reduced, white emergency
Singapore
lights near
24
the floor
Heavy,
will lead you to red
hold
lights, which indicate an exit.
Holding
Please
position,
take a moment to
Singapore
find the
24
exits
Heavy.
closest to you, and remember, they might be behind you. It's unlikely, but if cabin pressure changes, the panels above your seat will open, revealing oxygen masks. If this happens, reach up and pull a mask toward you until the tube is fully extended. Place the mask over your nose and mouth, slip the elastic strap over your head, and adjust the mask if necessary. Breathe normally and note that oxygen is flowing, so don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate.
Singapore Changi ground,
Be sure to
Singapore
adjust your own mask
1352
before
Heavy,
helping
ready
others.
for pushback with information hotel,
A
requesting
water
runway 2
evacuation
center.
is also unlikely, but
Singapore
just in
Changi
case,
ground,
life vests are
Singapore
located under your
516
seats
Heavy,
in the
ready
economy
to taxi
cabin.
to runway
If
2
you're seated
center
in the
with
first or
information
business
hotel.
class cabin, the life vests are either between your seats,
Singapore
under your seat,
1352
or in
Heavy,
a compartment
pushback
under your
approved,
armrest.
tail to the
To
south,
use,
expect
pull the
runway 2
tab
center.
to remove the vest from its container, and then
Singapore
open the pouch.
516 Heavy, runway 2 center,
Flip the vest
taxi via
over your
contact
head.
tower when ready.
Fasten the two straps to the front of the vest, and then
Taxiing to
adjust
runway
the
2
strap
center
loosely
via
around your
Singapore
waist.
516 Heavy.
If your vest has only one strap, wrap it around your waist and attach it to the buckle in front. As you leave the plane,
Singapore
inflate the
Changi
vest by
ground.
pulling down on the red tab
Super.
at the bottom
Ready
of
for
the vest.
pushback with information
Or
hotel.
manually inflate it by blowing into the tube at shoulder level. You
Singapore
can
Changi
activate a
ground.
light by
Indonesia
pulling down on the
825.
tab
Ready
in
for
front.
pushback with
If your
information
vest
hotel.
doesn't have a tab, the light will activate
Type 404
automatically in the
Super.
water.
Hold position.
If necessary, we'll
Holding
distribute infant
position.
life vests
Type
or other
404
flotation
Super.
devices for children who weigh 35 pounds or less.
Type 404
Also, most
Super.
seat cushions
Please follow
can be used for
instructions or you will be
flotation.
reported.
Now, before we take off, be sure your seat is upright and locked, your tray table is put away, and all carry-on
Indonesia
items are
825.
properly stowed.
Pushback approved.
As we
Tail
come to the
north.
cabin for
Expect
our
runway
final
to center.
safety check, please let us know if you have any questions. And finally, now would be a good time for everyone to review the
Pushback
safety
approved.
information
Tail
card
to the
which is
north.
in your seat
Runway
pocket.
to center. Indonesia
Thanks for your
825.
attention. Enjoy your flight.
Singapore Changi ground. Nomadic 9050. Request taxi to G21 at the other terminals. Nomadic 9050. Taxi to G21 via Whiskey. Taxiing to G21 via Whiskey. Nomadic 9050. Singapore Changi ground. All Nippon 010 heavy. Ready to taxi. Singapore Changi ground. Singapore 1352 heavy. Ready to taxi with information hotel. All Nippon 010 heavy. Runway 2 center. Taxi via contact tower when ready. Taxiing to runway 2 center via All Nippon 010 heavy. Singapore 1352 heavy. Expect progressive taxi instructions. Roger. Singapore 1352 heavy. Singapore Changi ground. Thai 404 Super. Ready for pushback with information hotel. Thai 404 Super. Pushback approved. Tail to the north. Expect runway 2 center. Singapore 1352 heavy. You were already instructed to cross the runway. Singapore 1352 heavy. Disregard last message. Singapore 1352 heavy. Follow aircraft ahead. Pushback approved. Tail to the north. Runway 2 center. Thai 404 Super. Singapore 15 Super. Request frequency change. Wilco. Singapore 1352 heavy. Singapore 15 Super. Please amend flight plan to include ATC preferred standard instrument departure. Singapore 15 Super. Disregard last message. Singapore 15 Super. You were already instructed to change frequency. Singapore Changi ground. Cathay 1120 Super. Request taxi to C20 at the other terminals. Singapore 24 heavy. Pushback approved. Tail to the south. Expect runway 2 center. Cathay 1120 Super. Taxi to C20 via. Taxiing to C20 via Cathay 1120 Super.
Singapore Changi ground, Indonesia 825, ready to taxi with information hotel.
Indonesia 825, runway 2 center, taxi via Victor, contact tower when ready.
Taxiing to runway 2 center via Victor, Indonesia 825.
Pushback approved, tail to the south, runway 2 center, Singapore 24 heavy. Singapore Changi ground, Thai 404 Super, ready to taxi with information hotel. Thai 404 Super, taxi to runway 2 center, contact tower when ready. Taxi to runway 2 center, Thai 404 Super. Thank you. Good day, Cafe 1120 Super. Sunwing 621, when Eagle turn left, contact ground on the taxiway. Wilco, Sunwing 621. Singapore Changi Tower, Victor Tango Sierra Romeo India, inbound on the ILS runway 2 center.
Singapore Changi Tower, Cebu 2682, inbound on the ILS runway 2 center.
Cebu 2682, Y010 at 13, number 3, runway 2 center, cleared to land.
Number 3, cleared to land, runway 2 center, Cebu 2682.
Victor Tango Sierra Romeo India, wind 010 at 13, number 2, runway 2 center, cleared to land. Number 2, cleared to land, runway 2 center, Victor Tango Sierra Romeo India. Singapore Changi Tower, Singapore 516 Heavy, ready for departure at runway 2 center, remaining in the pattern. Contacting Singapore Changi ground on 124.3, Singapore 391. Singapore 516 Heavy, hold short of runway 2 center. Holding short runway 2 center, Singapore 516 Heavy. Singapore 951 Heavy, when Eagle turn left, contact ground on the taxiway.
Wilco, Singapore 951 Heavy.
Victor Tango Sierra Romeo India, when Eagle turn left, contact ground on the taxiway.
Wilco, Victor Tango Sierra Romeo India.
Singapore 516 Heavy, line up and wait runway 2 center.
Line up and wait runway 2 center, Singapore 516 Heavy. Singapore Changi Tower, all Nippon 010 Heavy, ready for departure at runway 2 center, remaining in the pattern.
All Nippon 010 Heavy, hold short of runway 2 center.
Holding short runway 2 center, all Nippon 010 Heavy.
Cebu 2682, when Eagle turn left, contact ground on the taxiway.
Wilco, Cebu 2682.
Singapore 516 Heavy, wind 010 at 12, runway 2 center, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 2 center, Singapore 516 Heavy.
All Nippon 010 Heavy, line up and wait runway 2 center.
Line up and wait runway 2 center, all Nippon 010 Heavy. Singapore Changi Tower, Malaysian 369 Mike Hotel, inbound on the ILS runway 2 left with information hotel.
Malaysian 369 Mike Hotel, line 010 at 12, number 1, runway 2 left, cleared to land.
Number 1, cleared to land, runway 2 left, Malaysian 369 Mike Hotel.
T1. Rotate. Positive rate, gear up. Flaps up.
Singapore Changi Tower, all Nippon 010 Heavy, ready for departure in sequence at runway 2 center, departing south. Singapore Changi Tower, Starwalker 771 Heavy, inbound on the ILS runway 2 center.
Singapore 516 Heavy, contact Singapore approach on 124.6. Contacting Singapore approach on 124.6, Singapore 516 Heavy. Tomjet 127 Tango Victor, descend and maintain 7000. Singapore approach, Singapore 7 Heavy, with you at 29,600. Descend and maintain 7000, Tomjet 127 Tango Victor. Singapore 7 Heavy, radar contact, say approach request. Singapore 7 Heavy is 29 nautical miles southwest of Kluang at 29,000 feet, requesting ILS approach any runway at Singapore Changi. Singapore 7 Heavy, continue as filed, expect the ILS approach runway 2 left at Singapore Changi. Descend and maintain 4000, Indonesia 2300 Heavy. Roger, Singapore 7 Heavy. Singapore 899, do not exceed 230 knots. Do not exceed 230 knots, Singapore 899. iFly 3202, please expedite altitude change. Air India 889 India November, descend and maintain 7000. Indonesia 2300 Heavy, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Descend and maintain 7000, Air India 889 India November. Singapore 959 Heavy, descend and maintain 4000. Descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center, Indonesia 2300 Heavy. Stand by, iFly 3202. Indonesia 2300 Heavy, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Singapore 899, descend and maintain 6000. Air India 889 India November, turn right heading 090. Descend and maintain 6000, Singapore 899. Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Indonesia 2300 Heavy. All Nippon 010 Heavy, climb and maintain 4000. Climb and maintain 4000, all Nippon 010 Heavy. Turn right heading 090, Air India 889 India November. iFly 3202, turn left heading 050, maintain 5000, maintain 5000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left approach. Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo, maintain 4000. Turn left heading 050, maintain 5000, maintain 5000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left, iFly 3202. Maintain 4000, Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo. Air India 889 India November, descend and maintain 5000. Descend and maintain 5000, Air India 889 India November. Air India 889 India November, do not exceed 200 knots. Singapore 959 Heavy, maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Tomjet 127 Tango Victor, descend and maintain 5000. Maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center, Singapore 959 Heavy. Descend and maintain 5000, Tomjet 127 Tango Victor. Do not exceed 200 knots. Air India 889 India November. Air India 889 India November, turn right heading 110. Turn right heading 110, Air India 889 India November. Tomjet 127 Tango Victor, do not exceed 230 knots. Do not exceed 230 knots, Tomjet 127 Tango Victor. All Nippon 010 Heavy, altitude at your discretion. Singapore 899, descend and maintain 5000. Descend and maintain 5000, Singapore 899. Singapore approach, Dynasty 100, with you at 9000. Singapore 959 Heavy, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final, Singapore 959 Heavy. Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo, do not exceed 200 knots. Do not exceed 200 knots, Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo. Air India 889 India November, do not exceed 190 knots. Singapore 959 Heavy, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Singapore 959 Heavy. Air India 889 India November, turn left heading 050, maintain 5000, maintain 5000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 left approach. Singapore 7 Heavy, descend and maintain 7000. Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo, do not exceed 180 knots.
Singapore approach, Indonesia 825, with you at 2200.
Do not exceed 180 knots, Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo. Descend and maintain 7000, Singapore 7 Heavy. Frequency change approved Singapore 1352 Heavy, good day. Do not exceed 180 knots, Singapore 899. Singapore approach, Dynasty 100, with you at 9000. Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo, maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Dynasty 100, radar contact. Maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center, Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo. Dynasty 100, continuous files, expecting ILS approach runway 2 center at Singapore Changi. Roger, Dynasty 100. Air India 889 India November, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Indonesia 17 is 1 nautical miles northeast of Singapore Changi at 2,500 feet, requesting radar vectors to Jakarta Soekarno. Thank you, good day, Air India 889 India November. Indonesia 17, unable at this time, proceed on course to Jakarta Soekarno. Roger, Indonesia 17. Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo, maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final. Maintain 180 knots until 6 mile final, Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo. Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo, contact Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6. Contacting Singapore Changi Tower on 118.6, Oscar Kilo Oscar Mike Echo Romeo. Singapore 7 Heavy, descend and maintain 5000. Descend and maintain 5000, Singapore 7 Heavy. Tomjet 127 Tango Victor, descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Singapore 899, turn left heading 190, descend and maintain 4000. Descend and maintain 4000, maintain 4000 until established on the localizer, cleared ILS runway 2 center, Tomjet 127 Tango Victor. Singapore approach, Air India 121 Papa Quebec, with you at 2,900. Air India 121 Papa Quebec, radar contact.
Ladies and gentlemen, the seatbelt sign has been switched off. However, for your safety we recommend you keep your seatbelt loosely fastened in case of any unexpected turbulence.